Hello there, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita Wu. News making the headlines. Pakatan Harapan government to introduce new economic direction. And new regulations on fully tinted windows to stay, says Anthony Loke. Today marked the first anniversary of the Pakatan Harapan government, and in conjunction with that, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad announced that the government will introduce a new economic direction for the country to ensure that the people will enjoy shared prosperity while resolving the current economic quagmire. He said the initiative will adopt the shared prosperity approach by increasing the people's purchasing power and eliminating the income and wealth gap between classes, regions and extreme disparity in supply chain. Speaking during a special address in conjunction with PH government's one-year anniversary, Tun Dr. Mahathir said the shared prosperity approach is an effort to ensure that Malaysia continues its path of sustainable development with equitable growth at all levels by 2030. He said the economic model will create a sense of harmony and stability for the people in a unified nation that is without prejudice and celebrates the racial and cultural diversity.
Kemakmuran bersama tidak harus diukur dengan KADNK yang tidak memberi banyak makna kepada rakyat biasa. Kemakmuran bersama seharusnya dinilai kepada apa yang dimiliki oleh rakyat seluruhnya dari segi gaji dan nilai pendapatan isi rumah, pemilikan aset keuangan, fizikal dan simpanan, penyertaan dalam rantaian bekalan, nilai jurang antara bandar dan luar bandar dan pelbagai komponen pengukuran lain yang dapat mengukur bahawa kemakmuran bersama ini telah dikongsi oleh semua rakyat secara adil dan saksama.
Tun Dr. Mahathir also outlined 7 strategic thrusts which are crucial to achieve the shared prosperity goal by 2030. Among them are restructuring and improving the business ecosystem, generating new growth sectors, enhancing talent reformation and national resources, as well as improving labour market and employee income. Tun Dr. Mahathir also stressed that the country has a responsibility towards the less fortunate, marginalised and low-income group. As such, policies and programs towards a more comprehensive social well-being should be strengthened based on the need-based principle of the economy, as the country does not want any group to be left behind. On May 9th last year, Pakatan Harapan wrested control of the federal government after defeating Barisan Nasional in a historic general election. Meanwhile, Tun Dr. Mahathir said the Pakatan government has fulfilled 39% of its pledges in its first year of administering the country. The performance was measured through the progress status of 464 initiatives, which are policies and specific actions mentioned in each pledge.
Pencapaian ini juga menunjukkan komitmen kerajaan untuk membina negara dan memenuhi harapan rakyat. Kita ada 4 tahun lagi untuk memastikan semua janji-janji tersebut dapat dilaksanakan, dan kita yakin kesemuanya akan tercapai dalam mandat pemerintahan kita sebelum mandat pemerintahan kita berakhir.
The Prime Minister also took the opportunity to lambast previous leaders, especially former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Mohammad Najib Tun Razak, for all the problems faced by the current administration. He said the government is aware that many people are not satisfied and had accused Pakatan of failing to fulfill several pledges contained in the manifesto. He explained the level of damages were huge when Pakatan took over the government, that its priorities shifted from fulfilling the pledges into put-out fire mode.
Well, I think, as what Tun has mentioned, this is a new coalition. Of course, there is a lot of things that need to be done to make it more cohesive, more inclusive, and those narratives that we need to prepare are not just common, but those are the things that is agreeable by all. As what Tun has mentioned in the beginning, all the 4 parties in the first instance are not having similar ideologies, but they are in a way coming together for the sake of saving the country. So that is the ultimate purpose, and I think once we have started now where we are today, there's a lot more room that we need to look at very seriously in how to improve further. And I think once everybody is agreeable to that, I don't think that will be a matter that is of concern in the long term.
Looking at the latest statistics, the FDIs and also DDIs are very positive. So that shows the level of confidence is back in the system, and we should be able to retain the targeted growth for 2019. 4.9%. Yeah. All the mega projects, we want to set our priorities right, because at that point of time we don't have the capacity to continue with these projects. But now, Alhamdulillah, the economy is back on track, and we should be able to continue with some of the major infrastructure project that will benefit the rakyat.
Ya, kita 1 tahun ini banyak saya sebut tadi menampung lubang-lubang yang dikorek oleh mereka. Dan tahun yang kedua ini kita akan mula memacu dan melangkah ke hadapan.
Ucapan tadi penuh dengan telus, tanggungjawab, dan dia telah membawa seolah report card kepada rakyat untuk menilai sendiri. Apa yang orang cakap mungkin berbagai, dan yang penting ialah apa yang telah kita buat dan apa yang akan kita sedang buat dan apa yang kita akan buat.
And after a year of Pakatan Harapan PH rule, the business community and investors in the country want clearer policies from the government, with some light shed on the transition of power, as it is important that business and investment decisions be aligned with future leadership's policies. The PH government appeared to have delivered on about 1/3 of their economic promises, most notably the swift move to abolish the goods and services tax GST. And for the business community and investors, there is still room for improvement.
Once the certain areas of uncertainty, especially with the succession planning, the government must be clear to see who will lead us, because this is the second year of Tun Mahathir, and this is his final year. So if there is a timeline and a smooth handing over to the incoming Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, then it will remove a lot of uncertainties. For us as businessmen, we need that certainty.
That's why a lot of policy is not unclear, the first. Second is a lot of policy when announced, U-turn back. So it will make the industry feel insecure. You know, there's no direction. So we hope whatever decision government need to make should work closely with the industry. You know, those workable policy with the industry, with joint force. Government should work with industry.
Moving forward, issues on foreign labour also need to be addressed.
The communication side is the thing that maybe still probably lacking in terms of getting everybody to understand what are the policies, how are the policies going to change moving forward, and for businesses generally, what we actually definitely need, and as much as we can, is certainty and stability, because all the time we work on planning, how it's going to be like moving forward.
So perhaps more communication from the government would help to create a positive mindset, and often it's creating that positive mindset which then spurs on positive consumer sentiment and consumer spending as well. Yeah.
When asked for a rating of the new government, the MICCI gave a 60% rating and acknowledged that many companies still provide space and time for the new government to improve the economy. The Association of SME Malaysia, meanwhile, gave a 50% score, and they want the government to give more attention to the policy on the recruitment of foreign workers. Malaysians took to social media such as Twitter, Instagram and Facebook to recollect and cherish their experience of voting in the 14th general election, which saw Pakatan Harapan's historic win, paving the coalition's way to Putrajaya. Among them are former International Trade and Industry Minister Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz, who congratulated the PH government and Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad through her Facebook page. She also urged Malaysians to judge and evaluate the PH government only after it has served its full term. On Instagram, renowned foodie Datuk Chef Wan posted his congratulatory message praising Tun Dr. Mahathir, which received 14,632 likes. He stressed that the current government needs more time, as it is not perfect to turn the economy around quickly after what UMNO had done previously. He added that now is the time for Malaysians to unite and rebuild the country, as well as reclaim dignity.
Saya, Mahathir bin Mohamad, setelah dilantik memegang jawatan Perdana Menteri, dengan sesungguhnya bersumpah bahawa saya akan dengan jujur menunaikan kewajipan-kewajipan jawatan itu dengan segala daya upaya saya, bahawa saya akan menumpahkan taat setia yang sebenar kepada Malaysia.
The new regulations on fully tinted rear car windshields and windows will stay despite protests from various quarters, including the police. Transport Minister Anthony Loksufok said today that there will be no U-turn on the move, as his ministry has taken into consideration everyone's views before changing the ruling. At a media conference on Thursday, the Transport Minister, the findings of a workshop organised in 2014 were taken into account, in which the police also contributed their views. Lok said the new ruling on tinted windows fell under the jurisdiction of the Transport Ministry, and any amendment to the ruling was under the Road Transport Act 1987.
The changes that we have made is along with the views and suggestions at that time. It's not that a major change. It's just for the rear seats and rear windows. So we have taken into consideration all the views, including MIROS. Of course, MIROS is part of our agency. They sit in our post-cabinet. They have given their views. Of course, we respect their views. That's why, as far as the front window and the driver's window, we do not change anything.
On Tuesday, Lok announced that from Wednesday, private car owners will be able to enjoy darker vehicle tinting, as the Road Transport Department will now allow zero visible light transmission for rear side windows and rear windshield. He said the move was expected to generate income for the government, adding that from 2011 to 2018, some 20,000 cars were allowed darker tinting but had not generated any income for the government.
So that is the reform that we are making, to make the process in JBJ more transparent and at the same time raise some revenue for the government.
The updated regulations under the Motor Vehicles Prohibition of Certain Types of Glass 1991 came into force on Wednesday. The Defence Ministry had, in February, said it lost more than 500 million ringgit from several land swap deals. Now, the Ministry on Thursday has enlisted three main reasons for this, which involved his predecessor, as well as the previous Prime Minister: a lower valuation than the market price, weaknesses in contract management, and outrageous interference for political interests. In a statement, the Defence Ministry said, based on the findings of the report by the Governance, Procurement and Finance Investigating Committee, the government land was transferred before the projects were completed. It said violations and non-compliance of regulations, contract terms and government standard operating procedures were amongst the weaknesses. No careful planning by the Defence Ministry in the implementation of the projects caused the objective of the projects not to be fully realised. The statement came after Defence Minister Muhammad Sabu presented in Parliament the findings of the report from the committee led by former Auditor General Tan Sri Amin Buang on the land swap deals. The Defence Ministry said it welcomed the recommendations of the committee, and several measures had been taken to ensure the government did not suffer further losses. An investigation was conducted between July and December on the 16 land swap projects of the Defence Ministry under Barisan Nasional Government. A total of 2,933 acres of land is involved in the 16 land swap deals, and ownership of the lands has been transferred. The land is said to be worth 4.8 billion ringgit and the cost of the projects 4.9 billion ringgit.
Catch the auto segment every Friday on Nightline! Woo! Wow!
Next, Datuk Sri among 4 suspects sought after over entertainment centre attack. The details when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back, still on Nightline. The problem of the unscheduled water disruption in the Klang district following 3 main pipes bursting near the Banting-Taiping West Coast Expressway, or WCE project construction site, is expected to be progressively resolved starting Friday. Water, Land and Natural Resources Minister Dr. Xavier Jayakumar said the Pengurusan Air Selangor Sdn Bhd, Air Selangor contractor, was working around the clock to carry out pipe repair works which have been completed 35% as of Wednesday. He said the contractor must be given time to repair the 3 main pipes which burst on Sunday. The contractor, according to the minister, is working round the clock to ensure water supply is restored. Dr. Xavier said the ministry had also instructed the National Water Services Commission, or SPAN, to investigate the burst pipe incident. Almost 90 areas in the Klang district was hit by an unscheduled water disruption since Sunday after 3 main pipes in the expressway project site burst. The decision whether to open 3 of the West Coast Expressway interchanges in Perak before Hari Raya will be out by May 20th. Perak Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal Azumu said that there is some work pending and the authorities are rushing to get it done before the festive season. Speaking after chairing a special committee meeting to develop the economy along the WCE stretches in Perak, Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal said he hoped that at least one of the 3 interchanges in Perak can be opened before the Aidilfitri celebration to reduce congestion along the Plus Highway.
Macam untuk kegunaan ini, WCE ini dapat dibuka mengikut masa dan kita harap pada 20 hari bulan ini kita akan membuat satu pengumuman yang menggembirakan. Sekurang-kurangnya 1 jajaran akan kita buka sebelum Hari Raya, dan seboleh-bolehnya kita juga menetapkan dapat kita buka jajaran yang lebih, tetapi ianya not in one stretch tapi certain stretch, dan ini akan membantu pengguna-pengguna yang akan balik ke kampung halaman.
It was reported on Wednesday that the interchanges would not be ready before Hari Raya. Quoting Malaysian Highway Authority Director General Datuk Aziz Abdullah, a news report said that the postponement was because there was still some work that needed to be done to ensure the stretch was safe for motorists. West Coast Expressway Sdn Bhd Managing Director Datuk Neo Sun Hyong, meanwhile, said about 95% of the 3 packages have been completed. He, however, said the last part of the project is a bit difficult as it depends on other agencies, as it has to go through Federal Gazette, the Speed Limit Gazette and also the safety compliance. The WCE involves 4 interchanges from Banting to Taiping. The 3 packages in Perak cover Hutan Melintang to Teluk Intan, Lekeh to Cangkat Cermin and Cangkat Cermin to Beruas. Selangor's package only involved the northern side of the state. In Kuala Lumpur, 4 men, including a Datuk Sri, were being sought to facilitate investigations into an attack on an entertainment centre at Jalan Klang Lama last Friday. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Datuk Mazlan Lazim said all the suspected individuals believed to have links to the attack incident were urged to surrender immediately.
So kita sedang siasat lanjut ni tentang motifnya. Dikatakan melalui satu perempuan ni yang menjadi rebutan. Cemburu pula ni. Cemburu. From there dia nak tunjuk kekuatan kumpulan dia. Dia kata dia ada kumpulan, ini pun ada kumpulan. Jadi from there dia tunjuk kekuatan.
Datuk Mazlan said the individuals were identified as Datuk Sri Liu Cho Chai, or alias Hong Chai, Derek and Bahtiar Rahim. He said police have also arrested 14 suspects aged between 26 and 47, believed to be members of Gang 21 from Ampang. Preliminary investigations revealed that the attack was a result of a prior fight earlier that night at the entertainment centre in Cheras on the same day. It was reported that a group of armed individuals, believed to be secret society members, had attacked and damaged the entertainment centre at 9:20 p.m. The group was said to have just entered the premises before breaking tables, chairs, television sets, cabinets and decorative items, but no one was injured. All those arrested were remanded for 5 days beginning May 5th. A Kuala Lumpur City Hall, DBKL Senior Deputy Director official and 4 contractors are being remanded for 5 days. They are being held to assist Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC's probe into allegations of bribery involving 200,000 ringgit. The suspects, aged between 41 and 57, were arrested at a restaurant in Kuala Lumpur at around midnight on Wednesday. The contractors were believed to have been engaged for upgrading works on the City Hall's infrastructure facilities. MACC Director Datuk Simi Abdul Ghani, who confirmed the arrests, said investigators are probing the case. In Selangor, 3 loan sharks were sentenced to 8 months in jail by the Petaling Jaya Magistrates Court on Thursday. The trio pleaded guilty to the charge of threatening a trader and splashing red paint at his apartment last March. Meanwhile, at the Sessions Court, the trio were charged with treason for setting the trader's apartment on fire on March 20th. The 3 accused face a jail term of up to 15 years and fine if found guilty under Section 435 of the Penal Code. The court set May 29th for re-mention of the case. Over in Sarawak, 2 families lost their homes in a fire in Jalan Krokop, Miri, early Thursday. Miri Fire and Rescue Chief Lo Po Kiong said his team received the distress call at around 2 a.m, adding that no injuries were reported from all 8 victims. A Toyota Hilux and a Proton Saga were also destroyed in the blaze. Cause of the fire and estimation of losses are still under investigation. Meanwhile, in Kelantan, 2 students on their way to school were killed after a car rammed into the motorcycles they were riding in Tumpat on Thursday. Police are currently hunting for the driver of the car, who abandoned the badly damaged vehicle and fled the scene on foot. The case is being investigated under Section 41 of the Road Transport Act for causing death by reckless or dangerous driving. Going for a short break. After the breather, more than a dozen killed in Syrian shelling attack. Stay with us. We're back with foreign news now. In Syria, at least 15 civilians were killed, including children, in an airstrike by Russian-backed Bashar al-Assad regime in Idlib on Wednesday. At least 20 others were wounded in the incident as Russian-backed government forces continued air raids and shelling in the last rebel-held territory in the country. The attack occurred at an enclave controlled by former Al-Qaeda Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, an active militant group involved in the Syrian civil war. The Al-Assad and Russia have been bombing the province for several weeks, but it intensified the attacks last Thursday, targeting hospitals and schools. According to the World Health Organization, 12 health facilities, including 2 central hospitals, were bombed since 29th April. The death toll from these attacks have increased to 80. Meanwhile, the United Nations UN Security Council are expected to meet on Friday to address and discuss the growing conflict in the area. Whereas in Sri Lanka, 11 teachers stationed at a Christian school in Colombo had to be reassigned after constant harassment for wearing a hijab on Thursday. The tension had escalated when a group of parents and former students of the Puak Pitya Tamil Maha Vidyalaya school prevented the teachers from entering. The action was allegedly in response to the Easter Sunday bombings at a church in Colombo, which left 268 dead and hundreds wounded. The group had told the teachers that they would only allow them to enter the school if they were dressed in saris. Now, following the blast, a ban was imposed on the wearing of niqabs in order to allow security officials to more easily identify people, but no restrictions were placed on the abaya or hijab. Reach Champions League final after stunning comeback. Stay with us. We're back with sports news now. Football, the UEFA Champions League. Lucas Moura scored a hat-trick as Tottenham Hotspur staged a sensational comeback to beat Ajax Amsterdam 3-2 in the second leg of the semi-final to advance into the final on away goals after the scores were tied 3-3 on aggregate. Tottenham looked down and out at half-time after Ajax skipper Matthijs de Ligt's fifth-minute header and a superb 35th-minute effort by Hakim Ziyech put Ajax in complete command of the tie after having won the first leg by 1-0 in London last week. However, the visitors roared back after the interval as Moura scored twice in 4 minutes to reduce the goal deficit. Moura then completed his hat-trick in the final minutes of stoppage time, setting up his team a grand finale clash against Liverpool on June 1st. May 9, 2018 marked another history in the establishment of Malaysia when Barisan Nasional ended their 60-year rule of the country. Pakatan Harapan coalition, led by Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, created an upset as they took over the government, a victory dubbed as Kemenangan Rakyat. And today, Malaysia celebrated the first anniversary of Pakatan Harapan's government with hopes that the coalition can make the country better again. With that, I'm Anita Wu. Thank you for tuning in and selamat bersahur.